Bills Mafia, let's talk defense. Because while everybody is fixated on Josh Allen throwing deep balls to DJ Moore at OTAs, and yes, we are absolutely going to talk about that connection too, something is building quietly on the other side of the ball in Orchard Park that deserves your full, undivided attention. A new defensive coordinator is in the building with a completely different vision for how this defense is going to operate. A veteran pass rusher with Captain Patches at two different franchises is already taking over the locker room, and a second-year cornerback who missed half of his rookie season to injury is building what he himself described as armor because he is not letting this opportunity slip away again. The Buffalo Bills' 2026 defense is being constructed from scratch right in front of our eyes, and what we are seeing come out of these OTA sessions is genuinely exciting. Let's get into all of it. We will start with the news that dropped this week. The Bills signed Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles to a one-year contract, adding a veteran linebacker with legitimate NFL resume and, perhaps more importantly, the kind of character profile that this organization prioritizes above just about everything else. John Lynch, yes, that John Lynch, the 49ers GM, the Hall of Famer, called Flannigan-Fowles a top-rate person and human being. That is the exact language you hear from this Buffalo Bills organization when they bring in someone who fits the culture. That is Brandon Beane's fingerprints all over this signing. You may not know the name, you may not be able to pick him out of a lineup, but if the people who have been around him for years at San Francisco call him a top-rate human being, he is exactly the kind of player this locker room is built around. Now let's talk about the football. Flannigan-Fowles was originally an undrafted free agent out of 2019, played the majority of his NFL career with the 49ers through 2024, and most recently spent the 2025 season with the New York Giants, where he played 36% of the defensive snaps and 40% of the special teams snaps. He had 33 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, a pass breakup, and a sack in just 10 games with a Giants linebacker room that was widely considered one of the thinnest and most limited in the entire league. In other words, he saw real snaps in a real NFL defense because they needed him to. He has 3 straight playoff appearances on his resume from the 49ers run from 2021 to 2023. He knows what winning locker rooms feel like. He knows what preparation for a deep postseason run looks like. Those things matter when you are trying to build a culture. Is he going to be a featured starter for the Bills? Probably not. The reality of this linebacker room is that Terrell Bernard is your guy at the top. Bernard is a Pro Bowl inside linebacker, a communication quarterback for this defense, the player who gets everyone lined up and organized and talking the same language in between series. Jim Leonhard himself said that half of what Bernard gives this team is leadership and intangibles. The communication on the field, the ability to process and relay information in real time, the experience of having been in the system and knowing exactly what to do in every situation. That is not a small thing. That is the foundation a defensive unit is built around. And then there is Caleb Armour, the young linebacker who has been getting absolutely glowing reviews from everybody in the building. Joe Brady loves him. Jim Leonhard loves him. Brandon Beane loves him. They love his athletic profile. They love the production and the effort he brings every single day. Leonhard went so far as to say it is going to be scary when Armour actually gets pads on in training camp. That is how you talk about a player you believe is going to be a significant contributor. And with Dorian Williams slated to start alongside Bernard while still proving he can handle a full 17-game role, the competition at that second linebacker spot is going to be one of the most fascinating battles of training camp. Armour is pushing. Flannigan-Fowles adds depth and experience. The room is thin at the top level, but has real upside in the developmental pieces. Now, let us talk about the reason you are here, the reason this defense has a chance to look completely different in 2026 than it has in any recent season, the reason the AFC East just became a much more dangerous place to throw a football. His name is Bradley Chubb, and what is happening with Bradley Chubb in Orchard Park right now is genuinely one of the most compelling storylines on this entire roster. Let's start with the description that has been floating around the Bills facility all OTA week because it is too good not to lead with. Bradley Chubb described new defensive coordinator Jim Leonhard as a quiet assassin. A quiet assassin. Chubb said the man is a genius with football, that he goes deep on the scheme, that every interaction has been all ball all the time, and that is exactly what you want to hear from your most important defensive free agent addition, describing the coordinator he is going to be running a new scheme under. And the rest of the players are echoing it. Maxwell Hairston called Leonhard a geek with football stuff who is genuinely cool. TJ Sanders called it an all-ball approach. Every interaction, every conversation, every moment of the new defensive coordinator's time in Orchard Park has been about football, about details, about the scheme, about getting this defense ready to be something it has not been in the Sean McDermott era, genuinely terrifying. And Bradley Chubb is the player Leonhard is counting on to set the tone. Think about the career this man has had. 5th overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, 2-time Pro Bowl selection, 48 career sacks before this season even begins. He was a captain at Denver and a captain in Miami. 2 different franchises, 2 completely different locker rooms, and he wore the C on his chest at both because his teammates wanted him to. Joe Brady made a critical distinction when he talked about Chubb's captain experience. He said he needed to know whether Chubb was a captain because he was the best player in the room or because of everything that comes with it. Brady concluded emphatically that it is everything that comes with it, the alpha traits, the leadership, the ability to reach across to the other side of the ball and make players on offense better just by existing in the building. Leonhard specifically said Chubb is one of those special players who can reach out to the entire roster, not just the defense, the entire team. The Bills have not had a defensive player like that since the end of the Tre'Davious White era, and it has been noticeable. Chubb fills that void from the moment he walked through the door, and here is something that adds an almost poetic layer to this whole story. The Denver Broncos drafted Bradley Chubb, 5th overall in 2018, instead of selecting Josh Allen, who was still available on the board and who many believe they should take. Instead, the Broncos went with the edge rusher from NC State. For 8 years, Chubb watched Allen develop in Buffalo. From a division rival's sideline, he watched him become an MVP. He watched the Bills build a perennial contender, and now in 2026, the man who was taken instead of Josh Allen is lining up as a teammate of Josh Allen. That story writes itself. Chubb himself acknowledged how funny life can be and then said this is going to be the perfect place for him to hit his stride and exceed the career best 12 sacks he had as a rookie. Those are not the words of a player who is here to collect a paycheck and coast to retirement. Those are the words of a man who has unfinished business. On the field, the fit in Jim Leonhard's 3-4 base defense is arguably more natural for Chubb than anything he ran in Miami. Leonhard specifically described his outside linebackers as the edges of the defense, the pass rush starters who will operate with the freedom to rush, to drop, to move, to be unpredictable. That is the kind of schematic versatility that maximizes Chubb's strengths as a stand-up outside linebacker who does not need to win with pure speed and bend. He wins with power, with leverage, with the ability to turn pressure into production at a rate that most pass rushers cannot match. He came back from a torn ACL in 2024 to post 8.5 sacks in 17 games last season. And the year before the ACL tear, he had 11 sacks. The production does not fall off with Bradley Chubb. The body is the concern, and it has been the concern throughout his career. A full healthy season in Buffalo could absolutely push him to a double-digit sack number for the 3rd time in his career. Pair him with Greg Rousseau on the other side, 7 sacks last year, capable of 8 or more, and this Bills pass rush is suddenly the most credible it has been since Von Miller was sacking quarterbacks in purple in 2022. Now let us go to the secondary because this is where the third storyline of this video lives, and it is one that should genuinely excite you going into 2026. Maxwell Hairston came into the league last year as a first-round pick from Kentucky with a 42.8 40-yard dash and coverage instincts that had scouts raving. He came in as the fastest cornerback on the roster, and then the injuries came. An LCL sprain in training camp before the first preseason game kept him out of the first 6 games of the regular season. He came back. He produced 5 pass breakups in 11 games, back-to-back interceptions in consecutive weeks, showing everyone exactly why the Bills spent a first-round pick on him. And then in Week 18 against the Jets, in a game where the Bills were playing meaningless football because they had mismanaged their quarterback situation through the season, he tweaked his ankle and missed both postseason games, which means Maxwell Hairston missed the divisional round loss to Denver, a game where the Bills' secondary got torched because of an injury sustained in a garbage-time regular season game that should not have mattered. That has been eating at him all offseason. You can hear it in everything he says. Hairston said his number one priority going into the offseason was getting his body 100% right, that he was putting muscle on, building armor, being intentional about his body in a way that he was not able to fully do in his first professional year. He is 22 years old. He has a 4.28 40. He has already demonstrated the ability to take the ball away at the NFL level. And now he has a full offseason under his belt, a full understanding of what the NFL requires physically, and a new defensive coordinator in Jim Leonhard, who was a safety himself and knows how to deploy cornerback talent in creative and effective ways. Leonhard said he sees Hairston as a guy he needs to create a vision for in this defense. And that is not criticism. That is a coach saying he has a plan for how to use this specific skill set at its maximum potential. The wrinkle is Davison Igbinosun, the second-round pick out of Ohio State, who the Bills traded up to get at pick 62 in the 2026 draft. Igbinosun showed up to OTA week and immediately made an interception in practice. He is competing. He is relentless. Leonhard called his competitiveness his number one attribute, and Hairston's response to all of it was exactly what you want to hear from a player who understands what is at stake. My reaction is welcome. Let's work. He said the two of them have been studying together, working on technique together, pushing each other. That is a healthy competition, producing better players on both sides of it, and it is exactly the environment a new coaching staff wants to cultivate in a secondary that needs to be significantly better in 2026 than it was a year ago. The full picture of this Bills defense right now, taken together, is something to get excited about. Jim Leonhard running a new scheme with the freedom to be creative and chaotic. Bradley Chubb setting the tone as a leader and a pass rusher with unfinished business. Greg Rousseau coming into the final year of his deal with everything to prove. Maxwell Hairston coming out of a nightmare injury year with something to prove and a new set of armor on his body. Davison Igbinosun arriving with the most competitive energy on the entire roster. Terrell Bernard anchoring the middle with Pro Bowl communication skills. And now Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles adding depth and veteran experience to a linebacker room that needed both. This is not the Bills' defense of the last 2 years. This is something new, something with a different identity, something with the kind of personality and leadership on both sides of the ball now that championship caliber teams are built around. Josh Allen has always been good enough to win a Super Bowl. The question has always been whether the team around him was going to hold up its end of the bargain. Right now, in the summer of 2026, the defense is answering that question with a confidence this fan base has not seen in a long time. Let's go Buffalo. Now, if you are not subscribed, do it right now. Hit the button, smash the like, and drop your answer in the comments to the question we posed on today's show. Who leads the Bills in sacks in 2026? Is it Chubb? Is it Rousseau? Could it be someone on the interior? Drop your prediction down below, and while you are at it, give us your confidence level in this linebacker room on a scale of 1 to 100. We want the real answers from Bills Mafia. See you on the next one. Let's go Buffalo.